All right, guys, thank you for joining me today. We are going to be hitting up, it's August, mid-August, almost football time. So fantasy football. Now in the title, it even clearly says this is not about showing you what guy to pick, who to go after. I've done previous videos like that in the past, and I'll probably do there. I most likely want to do a live show where maybe twice a week, maybe once a week, where we can hit up, answer any questions on advice I can give you. Fantasy football, in the end, is there experts? Yes, there are experts based on the fact that they get paid for it. Matthew Berry is an expert. The fantasy footballers are experts. So those kind of people, when they actually get paid for it, and I'm talking seriously from networks, those guys are the experts. Now, there are also guys from like NFL Network who are experts because they get paid and they give the most vanilla, safe advice that is only good for like new players. If you're brand new and you don't really know anything about it, you're watching it, you're like, oh yeah, I should do that. Once you've watched a few seasons, played a few seasons, if you've been a football fan and you just got into fantasy recently, you are already good enough to make decisions to where you don't need these guys. Now, I'll give you a little bit of advice. This whole video is basically on how to get better to where you don't need advice from other people on how to make the decisions. I would say the best thing with some of these is to balance out what your thoughts are. The number one thing you want to do is it's your team, it's your roster, it's your players, all that's the same thing. You make the decision. In fantasy football, you are the GM, it's your team. One of the worst things I could see is when people follow experts' advice. They actually don't just take maybe an idea or a thought and then they blame them. You can see it on Twitter all the time. I've seen so many guys who are Twitter experts and they know what they're talking about. They're just offering advice on, hey, this or that. The minute they're wrong, people jump down their throats. No one is right 100% of the time. Nobody. There are guys like myself who play in over 20 leagues, and then there's people that play in 2 leagues. You're hit or miss, and no one is great all the time. You can always be a respectable team. You can always find a way to push for the playoffs or whatever the case is. But if you're new, or if you're even a seasoned expert and you just want to watch and find out what my thoughts are on it, this is it. I used to watch fantasy football, guys. The 2 that I watch the most, as the 2 previously mentioned, fantasy footballers, because they were entertaining, in my opinion, and they knew their stuff. They put out the numbers. Now, the problem is, even when you put out the numbers of trajectory, like this guy's due to break out, or everything's lined up for him, and these are the numbers, these are the reason why, they can still be wrong. You can't count for sometimes new management, new quarterbacks, new running backs, different things, offensive coordinators, things that can change. So one season this guy was kind of on the rise, the next season a new guy comes in and then he disappears. It's hit or miss with a lot of these. Even the surefire things have bad games. So when you listen to these experts, I would look for, and also Matthew Berry. Some people didn't like Matthew Berry, and the fact that when he did it on ESPN, he had the puppets, and people thought this is such a stupid show. I like things that are kind of goofy or funny. I thought he put a different taste on it, a different touch. It wasn't just sitting down like robots and blah, 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 blah all the time. It had a nice energy to it, and I really enjoyed those 2 shows. And I would listen to it, and I would go, okay, I see that. And there's times where you'll disagree with them. And in the end, I always went with what's best for me because I don't want to lose and say, oh, I shouldn't have listened to Matthew Berry. I'll share a quick story. I had a friend, new to fantasy football. He ended up making it to the playoffs that year and was in the 2nd round. Close game. He comes to me and says, hey, and I already lost in the 1st round. He's like, hey, you're one of the guys. You're the commissioner of the league. Who should I play between these 2? And I said, look, dude, I don't give advice, especially to my own league, because the minute I do, if you lose, you're blaming me. If you win, the guy you just beat's going to say, why am I saying anything? So stay out of it. And he's like, oh, come on, just who do you play between these 2? And I think it was Ryan Matthews, member from the Chargers, and Gio Bernard from the Bengals. That's how long back it goes. And I remember going, look, dude, I'm not going to tell you, but you can go to this website, and it's a whole bunch of fantasy experts where they base percentage. And so he did, and the percentage was like, play Gio Bernard, I think it was like 75, 80%, he told me, and he did it. And he lost. Ryan Matthews went out and had a huge game. It doesn't matter. Even 70 to 80% of the experts can be wrong on these things. Because like I said, you're only really an expert if you get paid. If nobody got paid and you just talked the loudest and got the most views, it doesn't make you an expert. Because in the end, it's just gut feeling. To me, number one is gut feeling with what your eyes and what the stats and everything's telling you. And then it goes from there. Everything else, your opinion, what you see from this player, from that player, from past players. But with this, he ended up losing. And then, of course, for the next few years, that's all I heard is it's my fault. And I go, I didn't even tell you to play. I just told, yeah, but I told you the website. So it's like, I don't need that kind of crap. Guy's no longer in our league. So what does that tell you? But that's the kind of things where if you are an expert, you're going to get that. No one is always going to be happy. So how do you do it without having to ask an expert? Number one, watch football. Watch it. And I'm talking, get the package on YouTube. I used to be DirecTV. Get them. Watch games. Go to this game. Watch your team. And then between commercials, or if nothing's happening, go to this game. Go to that game. Go to them. Get a feel of the players. Follow what's going on in college when the next group is coming up. Look at the guys because a lot of them will put up great numbers, but you got to look for the guys that you go, okay, they're great numbers, and how was their system? Is it a pass happy? So of course that receiver is going to be third on the team and still get a bunch of yards, or was it run happy and then this guy still excelled? So it's like you have to look for the things and go, who possibly could be good here? Draft capital. You want to invest more into a first round pick than you would a seventh round pick when it comes to fantasy football. But as you watch it and you learn the players and you learn the systems, you start to go, okay, I know that. Okay, yeah. Oh, so Ramondre Stevenson, he's the one who's going to probably lead the backfield in receiving, as opposed to, his name escapes me. The other running back, he just went to Buffalo. Anyways, there was two-back system. He was the first down, sometimes second down back, and then Ramondre got. So as a person who's experienced, you go, okay, I want the receiving back. Why? PPR. You're going to get more catches. Then Damian Harris. There we go. Harris got hurt. Stevens takes off. It doesn't make you an expert because you had him. You just played. It's smarter, in my opinion, to go for those kind of backs. And that's just something you learn with experience. I don't watch any experts anymore. The only time I might list a question is on Twitter is just because they asked and you go, hey, this is what I'm going to do. What would your opinion be? I've had people tell me. Last year I had multiple people say Saquon Barkley is done. He's going to be okay. He's not going to. And I told experts, change your opinion. Barkley's going to be a top 5 back, and he's going to be 100% ready. I've seen him in training camp. I know him. Now, I'm also biased because he's one of my favorite players ever, and he did. He came back and had a great season. I didn't know. He could have tanked. He could have got injured again. It's all, in the end, you have to take your opinion on what your eyes see and then what the stats show you. So when you get like that, you'll get to the point where you don't need to rely on anyone, and you could still ask questions, right? You still like to go to these fantasy. You like live shows where you go up to them and say, "Hey, what about this? What about that?" And you can ask them. You can say, "Hey, what do you think of this trade?" Because no one's always going to say 100%. They're not. There are people who will say a huge package on one side and Patrick Mahomes here, and to me, I'm going, I want the package because I can build a huge core, which allows depth. If there's an injury, I can make trades instead of the one superstar player. But then there's so many people that will want that superstar player, and I'll be in the minority. It doesn't matter. It's what I want. And as you are the owners, it's what you want. You have to make the final call. And like I said, I keep going back to how do you get to that point? From experience, from just watching the games, playing it. Don't listen so much to what the experts say as opposed to what your eyes see. And as I'm giving examples, it's examples of hit or miss. I'll show you one hit, one miss right now from last season. I was totally off Najee Harris after Big Ben retired. Why? Because everything he got, a big chunk of his points was like, I think, what did he have, over 90 receptions? He had either 90 receptions or 90, I think it was 90 targets. He had a boatload. That's on just like Eli Manning did. I didn't know this, but when Eli retired, you saw the 90 plus receptions for Barkley drop almost in half because Daniel Jones could run. He wasn't slow and old, and he was trying to make plays happen. Heck, he would scramble and score rushing touchdowns that Eli would have probably got to Barkley. So when you see that, you go, that makes sense. Big Ben, old, slow, check down, play it safe. He's got experience. He's not going to force it and throw the pick. Checks it down to Najee. Najee has a great season because of the passing work. In the offseason, I had him in multiple leagues, traded him in all of them but one because I said, Pickett's coming in. He's not going to do the checkdowns. Najee's passing targets, I believe, got cut in half. So there you go. That's a hit. And that's something that you just see from experience. And that's what you have to do. You have to go out and watch it and look for things like that. Look for it. Hey, new quarterback. You can't just go, oh, Najee, RB1, got him, RB1 every year. He could be RB10, but that's a hell of a lot different from RB2 or 3, which he was his rookie year. And it's because of the work. You have to see, as you go and watch these players, how did they get to work? Don't just look on your stat sheet and go, oh, Stevenson got me, oh, Garrett Wilson, he got me 19 today. Oh, okay, I can count on him every week. Well, why did he get 19? He had 2 catches and 2 touchdowns. They were red zone touchdowns. He did nothing. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen or did, but that's the kind of thing you have to look at. Educate yourself on how they got the points. When you see that, you can go, okay, he's going to go back on my bench. That's not happening every week. And then you get the freak things like Will Fuller, where I remember the experts kept saying every week, Will Fuller's not going to keep catching 2 touchdowns from Deshaun Watson. Meanwhile, I had the stack, and they kept breaking it in for me. And every year, they'd always get hurt. One of them would always get hurt. It killed me. I loved Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson. But anyways, let's get to where I was wrong. Miles Sanders for the Eagles. First year, he was like RB 12 or 14. Then he went to RB 21, 22. So he was the RB late 1, then 2, and then he was RB in the 40s. He dropped off the map. So why on earth? He's literally dropping double. Why would I think his 4th season he's coming in, he's going to be a top 10? I had him in no leagues, and I was, anytime a question came up on any fantasy website or Twitter, I'd say, no, I'm out on Miles Sanders, because the writing was on the wall. I did not see, because I thought the year before he would do good with Jalen Hurts, right? RPO, you never know what they're going to have to focus on Hurts. And that's just something you know as a football fan, and then you apply that to fantasy. And I was wrong. Sanders had a great year, much better year than I anticipated. And now I don't know what to think in Carolina. See, you can't, if you are a guy who's relying on Sanders, right, you're like, oh, I got Sanders here. Let me focus on a draft where I get heavy receivers because I got Sanders and Ramondre Stevenson. Well, now the Patriots got Zeke Elliott. Not that it's going to take away a bunch, but that's going to be work. They didn't bring him in for nothing. So Ramondre, not nervous. I still think he's the man and the receiving back, but it hurts him a little. And then you go Miles Sanders, new team. We don't know what the workload is. They acquired him. They wanted him. Are they going to give him the ball a lot? Is he going to get passing work? Those are the kind of things where I can't make a judgment because it's a whole new situation. And it's foolish to think that he's just going to be what he was when he was terrible before. I mean, he had gotten worse each year before last year's great year on a Super Bowl contending team that made the Super Bowl. Now he's on the team that had the first pick in the draft through a trade, but still. So those are the things you'll learn. You're going to sit there, and the only way to get that is to watch it and make the decisions yourself. Don't let other fantasy sites make the choices for you. There is nothing worse, nothing, in my opinion, to fantasy-wise, is losing because someone else's decision. Now, when I do the live show, if you come on here, I will answer any question from trade to who you should start. I'm not going to tell you should start. I'm going to tell you always what I would do, okay? And then you take that. That's why I do like things. I like to go on what I will do now still, and I recommend it for anyone out there if you're watching still. Hopefully you are. Go to every Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, CBS. Look up CBS PPR format, ranking, whatever it is. They will show... They put a ranking number on each thing, and they'll go cover all games. And it only gets released on Thursday afternoon or morning. And it'll release all games, and then it'll show each one a number. Oh, Najee Harris, 8.2. Miles Sanders, 7.5. And they base it on their opinion on what that player's going to do. So I always base my lineup on Wednesday. After the waiver wire, I would base my lineup and go bam. Then Thursday, I would look at it and go, now, how do I look? Did I set it for what the experts think? And I would use it as a reference point and say, oh, no. They think Eckler's going to do way better than Barkley. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to switch them. Because then I do, and Eckler gets 19 and Barkley gets 42. Maybe your league has a bonus or something crazy. Now I'm going, why? Why did I switch it? I had it set. Keep it. I've done that in the past. And I'm sharing this now because you don't want to make that mistake. If your gut and heart is saying, play this player, play it. Use that as a reference point. And then you go, yeah, they still got Barkley at a 9 and Eckler to 8.8. And obviously, you would start them both. I'm just saying names. Who are you going to not start? Eckler, Barkley, would you get Jonathan Taylor? I don't know. Bijan Robinson. But with things like that, that's my point is, I use it more as a reference, and I didn't used to do that. I would look at it and go, oh, no. It says Will Fuller's not going to do that good this week. Don't expect 2 touchdowns every week. And then you pull him out and you listen and you go, you pop in Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper poops the bed. And he does nothing. He gets you 3 points. And you're just like, why did I? And then I'm saving you years of frustration. So this is what I'm saying. When you do these things, when you watch it, study it, if you already know football, and if you're a guy who just says, hey, I'm playing for free or playing for money, you got to always trust your instinct and use everyone else as just a reference on what you think you did, right? If you're playing a guy where you're like, hey, I'm going to play this guy and he's on the border. I'm going to go Javonte Williams. He's just coming back from injury because some other guy says, dude, play Javonte. He's got a great matchup. Trust me. If you do that, you're doing it based on what he says. What did your mind say? What did your gut say? Go with what you know. Because as you go through the years, you're going to have experience where, like I said, I'm in a lot of leagues, and I think only 2 I did not make playoffs, and one of them was an orphan I took over. in the end, it balances out. You make playoffs. You win championships. You will. If you're in one league. Now, if you're just in one league or two leagues, you will. It's very hard. And you will make the playoffs if you are smart and you use the other advice to help guide you, not to lead you, not to tell you what to do. You will make playoffs. Then it's luck. There, you never know, a hit or miss. So that is it when it comes to fantasy football and my take on it, my thoughts on it. Like I said, I'll talk about it. I'll answer questions, anything you have. But in the end, a lot of this, the best advice I can get is figure it out on your own. Do it on your own and then use everyone else for reference points. And you'll get all that through experience by watching and reading the stats. Like I said, read the targets. Don't just look at the catches and go, oh, he had 4 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. No. How many targets? Did he have 9 targets and have 4 catches? Is he, in the end, really bad? Can he not catch a lot? Is it 5 targets on 4 catches and the other 2 receivers had 8 targets each and it was just a hot week? You got to look at those things. Those are the things to look for. Those are the matchups, not just always defense. And always play the guy that's going to be the lead dog, who's going to give you the best chance to get the most percentage of looks and touches. So that's it, guys. Leave your opinions, thoughts, and don't forget to like, please, and subscribe. Let's get those subscribers up and look for more sports and fantasy videos coming soon. Talk to you later. Peace.